Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
The #1 long-form writer that helps SEOs outrank competition at the click of a button using real-time research and NLP. Start ranking content today with contentatscale.ai.
Hi. How are we all doing? We good? Woo! So yeah, like we've been said, this is what I'm talking about today, is all about how to ensure that your technical SEO strategy is truly accessible. Instead of talking about actually having a long-term strategy for every client, that's impossible for me to come up with in a 20-minute talk. So we're going to look at it more from like an auditing area. I couldn't remember a word there for a second. But we'll look at it from like the auditing point of view, and we'll figure things out as we go. So I'm also going to introduce myself a little bit, although Lydia's just done a great job there. This is my 4th time at BrightonSEO. I'm a founder and consultant at my own little independent consultancy. I'm a women's tech maker ambassador. I'm an advocate for accessibility. I have dyscalculia. So this is important for you to remember. I have dyscalculia. This is a math-heavy presentation at the start. So if I'm saying the wrong numbers, the ones up here are correct. I don't know what I'm saying though. But first, I'd just like us all to take a minute and think, it's Friday, we've survived a day. Some people have survived 2 days. It's been a busy conference. There's a lot going on. So can you just give yourselves all a round of applause to just like... And now we can breathe, like well done. You're smashing it, we all are. Let's learn some stuff. So this isn't my first time talking about accessibility here. I was actually here last April, and my presentation was called, Is Your Site Accessible? No, why the fuck not? And why the fuck not indeed? So the data from this presentation, the first part, I would just like to do a bit of a recall back to that because it's important. As somebody that spends a lot of time talking about accessibility and working with clients, I've heard every reason possible of why not to do accessibility work. And I'm going to give you the business case I use. So the data has been updated to fit latest figures. So it is a little bit different, but it's important to see this. So if you look at the entire population of the world, 15% of people live with some form of disability. That could be cognitive, mobile, it could be all sorts. And in the UK, that's an even higher figure of 18%. It varies from country to country, so depending on the day of the week and what accessibility work I'm doing, I'm having a bit of a breakdown because the math don't always be mathing. But 18% of people in the UK, and we're going to just look at the UK because that's where we are at the minute. So if we go back to 2022 and look at every online sale that happened, we can learn that £220 billion was spent on e-commerce sites in 2022 in the UK alone. And 92% of the UK's population has access to the internet. It's really interesting because typically in, say, like a typical dynamic, so you're not living with some form of disability, it tends to be more isolated groups that don't have access to the internet. And I talk to people, and a lot of people say to me, well, what's the point in doing accessibility work online? Disabled people aren't on the internet. And he's like, what are you on about? Everyone's on the internet. 92% of the people in the UK are on the internet. That's a lot. So there are figures that I've checked. The latest data is 2020, but 81% of people who live with a disability have access to the internet at some capacity. So that could be at school, it could be a mobile device. Not everyone's on it the same way. For some reason, this slide's here again. We'll ignore. So to summarize, 18% of people with a disability, 92%, oh, this is the wrong order, 18% with a disability, 81% of people with disabilities on the internet, 92% having internet just in general, and 220 billion pounds spent online in the UK. So now we be mathing, so I'm getting more and more stressed. It's all written out. So 18% times 81% divided by 92% gives us 15.8%. If you want to check that, you can. I've had lots of people check this. So that is the total internet population. The words now aren't wording. Numbers, man, I hate them. 15.8% is the total internet population in this scenario. So what we can now do is go 220 billion. I'm going to divide that by 15.8%, and we get this number. 347.6 million pounds. This is what was spent in 2022 by the disabled population. Yes, I'm just working on assumptions here, but this is what the math is saying. So what we can also see from this is 15.8% of our UK customer base is likely disabled. So if our website is accessible, they make up 15.8% of how much money we bring in each year. If our website is not accessible, we're losing out on 15.8%. So that is the business case. It really upsets me having to talk about an entire population in terms of money. But unfortunately, some business owners only want to know what is the monetary value, why do I care, instead of you should just care. So this is where my old talk ends, and we'll move into the new talk. So if you've ever looked at what Google's mission statement, it's keen to make an accessible internet for everyone. But unfortunately, that also shows a little bit that Google doesn't really give a damn about accessibility, but as humans, we do. So a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about is accessibility isn't a ranking factor, but a lot of the work in accessibility ties into the work that we should be doing as SEOs, and if we take it a step further, we're killing two birds with one stone. We can be more accessible. So we've got, like, I'm talking through it anyway, I'm not going to explain it in this one slide. So let's look at what we can do as SEOs. So who in the room does content? Okay, cool, a lot of hands, that's fun. So a lot of time people make the assumption that accessibility work is technical, but it's not, it's a sliding scale. We can do it in content as well. So we already know as SEOs that content should be well displayed and easy to read. We should outline what the problems our business is solving and provide helpful, solution-based content. I'm talking again in e-commerce, but apply this to anything. Talk about your products, how to get the most out of them, how should they be used? Do they solve a problem? What problem does it solve? How was this created? What materials were used? Is it sustainable? Give us information. And why was this product created? Things like this are great for setting your content apart. Even if you're like a wholesaler and you've bought something, you've got 1,000 units from another shop that sells bajillions of units and every other business sells this, talk about it in a unique way. Don't use the sample description, create something, be better. But you need to keep your language simple. So in the UK, I believe the average reading age is 9 years old. It could be 7. I've been looking at the US data recently and now I've got the two mixed up. But we don't want overwhelming, overly complicated language. And same with our call to actions, same to our images. Tell a user what we want them to do, direct them along the path. And it's just much better, but that's better for everyone anyway. Do you see what I'm saying? This isn't rocket science. This is good content SEO, really. One of the big things, links. Make them clearly distinguishable from the other text. There's a reason that they've always been the shade of blue with a line underneath them. They stand out, and it's really important that they stand out. So don't just bold a piece of text and keep it looking relatively the same. I hate that anyway, but that's my preference. But just tell a user what you want, take them on a journey, and be clear. So technical, this is where we can start spiraling off a little bit. So in theory, all of you in your technical audits should be looking at JavaScript. I'm hoping you do. I'm hoping you disable JavaScript and then have a look at the site. It's really important because a lot of users with disabilities will use text-only versions of your site. They might use screen readers or any other accessibility tool to make the process easier for them. So it's important that without JavaScript enabled, that the page still loads meaningful content. That's not just for Google. Then you need to make sure that all of the navigation and the links are working properly, because if you're using a screen reader, you kind of jump from section to section. Normally it's header to header, but you can jump link to link and all sorts. The user experience should not change that much from going from a full, flashy, really cool HTML, modern JavaScript, like sexy page to just a plain text page. Yes, it'll look different, but it should have the same logical structure. And while we're checking our JavaScript, we need to then just tab around. So get that tab key, you've got your enter key, and use the tab key to go from every single link on the page, press the enter key, can you click them? Because a lot of users with disabilities, that's how they navigate the internet. So that is just one thing that you can add to your process, and you're working towards a more accessible internet. It's not hard. So if you want to see an example of what a bad user experience looks like, if any of you work in Asda, now is not the time to tell anyone. This is the sitemap of Asda. Oh, and it's a nightmare to use. So you tab along, and you think it's going to be decent. It looks good. You've got this section. You'd want to go section by section. So I want to look at barbecue. I'm going to get to barbecue. That's the first one. So I'm going to tab, 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 tab. I've gone through the navigation. Get to barbecue. I'm like, okay, I'm going to work down. I want to get to 2 for £8 meat and fish. So you think, okay, that's like midway down. Probably need to tab maybe like 8 times. Nope, you're going all the way sideways. So I'm going to look at everything in picnic. I'm going to look at afternoon tea. I'm going to jump to the categories. It takes forever and a day. It's a bad experience. You need to be able to go in a logical way of how the page is built. Sorry if anyone works at Asda, but fix it if you do. So this really helps. We know how important a sitemap is. We know how important links are. But it's important for a disabled user. We want them to get to our key pages first. So yes, seasonality is amazing and cool, and we love seasonality as SEOs. But your sitemap, I don't like this. I hate having their seasonal stuff there at the top. This should be just sticking to the normal logic. Like, okay, we're going to have refrigerator, frozen food, food cupboard. I can't remember what else a normal category is on a food shopping website. But this is a big change for a user with disability. It's a bad experience. And we're going to have the barbecue and the picnic and the afternoon tea in our main navigation. And it's very, very not the done thing. Like, the general public don't know a sitemap exists. Like, it's us, it's the SEOs, it's potentially some of the marketers, maybe data people, and people with disabilities that use this. And it's the people with disabilities that are our customers. So figure it out, fix it. So it's creating that good user experience again. So we're going to move on to another point now. So when you're doing an audit, I hope you're all actually going on the website and actually checking things and then going out on your phone or a tablet and checking everything manually as well as using a tool. A big thing you need to do is zoom in and zoom out. Don't have a tool just tell you that it's got the meta viewport tag. That's not enough. Test it. When you zoom in, can you still access the menu? Is it great? Is it good? Can you do everything properly? And it needs to be the browser zoom. Don't go inspect the page, change your device type to mobile. Don't do that. Go on the actual device. Everyone has a mobile. If you don't, you're probably not in SEO anyway. So yes, we check this. We should check this. But we also need to make sure that everything is visible, nothing becomes cropped, it's not unreadable, the window stays the same. So just check everything. It's real easy. You don't need to dedicate excessive time to accessibility because we're already doing 80% of the work. We're just not thinking about the other stuff. So by taking extra time to think about how we complete this process, we can really improve our entire auditing process and create these better strategies. And a lot of the time, you don't even need to tell the client you're doing accessibility work because I don't know what client, I come from an agency background and I hope you all work for fantastic agencies who work with fantastic clients that are never difficult and really kind and will just do whatever you want. That is not my experience. Clients can be a nightmare. So I'd much rather lie to a client and not tell them what I'm doing and just do what I want to do. But that's not the case. So please go back and use the business case to sell this to them. But just take little steps where you can to improve the entire process. So I know I've not given you the clear roadmap of what you actually need to add into your SEO auditing process to streamline it and make it really successful. But don't worry, I've got a resource for you all because we love resources. So this QR code, if you sign this, there's a little form. There's also a newsletter you can sign into. But if you don't want to sign up to the newsletter, I'll still email you. I've got an entire template where you can just cut and paste into your auditing process of the extra steps. I've done it more of just a checkbox way. So do what you want with it, make it work for you. But that entire list will help. I'm also doing a little giveaway because I'm a keen bean. I'm going to draw for someone to win a accessibility consultation if you want to. Anyone who signs up will just be automatically added to that, but if you win and don't want it, tell me, I'll pick someone else. But I'm really passionate about trying to make things more accessible for everyone. So please sign up. If you want to chat accessibility or anything else, that's my email address. That's not my direct email address because people sign me up for spam. So that is a business one, but I will respond to everything. And that's just a link to the QR code because my phone never works with QR codes, so just in case. Thank you for listening to me talk. It's a wrap. We've flown through this. Enjoy.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.